So I think we're probably okay to get started here. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you for joining us, and I'll introduce myself quickly. My name is Megan, and I'll be your facilitator this evening. Thank you again for joining us for the Ridgemont Neighborhood Area Structure Plan virtual information session. The NASP is the next step in the planning process after the approval of the Trilogy Plains ASP in the summer. We understand that the virtual information session platform might be new to some of you, as you may be used to open houses previously. That being said, we want to make this as simple and enjoyable for everyone as possible. So I'll just get into a few housekeeping items here. The session is being recorded, and but all participants' microphones are muted and your cameras are turned off. And if you have any questions or technical difficulties, feel free to reach out to me in the chat function. We will start tonight with a presentation from the project team that will give you an overview of the Ridgemont NASP. And then we will open up to a question and answer period at the end, where you're welcome to post your questions in the chat. And again, this presentation is being recorded and it'll be posted on the project website if you want to go back and view it later, or if you want to share it with anyone who wasn't able to make it tonight. We will be collecting feedback through a survey that we will share at the end of the presentation, and we'll put a link in the chat as well for you. And this feedback captured in the session and through the survey will be reviewed and put into an engagement summary. And this summary will be shared on the project website and over email with everyone that's attended. I'm going to hand it over now to Kayla McCarthy with BNA.
Perfect. Thanks very much for the intro, Megan. So welcome everyone to, as was mentioned, the virtual information session for the Ridgemont Neighborhood Area Structure Plan. So thanks for taking time out of your night to join us. My name is Kayla McCarthy. I'm a planner with BNA. Other members of the project team here with me today are Bruce Nelligan from Watt, who will present on transportation, Sean Popplewell, who will present on the servicing, Anton Skorobogatov, who will present on stormwater management, and Macy Ritter, who will present on the parks and open space in the plan area. Last but not least, we have Scott Lamont and Bill McDonald from Lamont Land, who are the majority landowners of the plan area and are sponsoring the project. So I'll just hand it over to Scott to tell you a little bit about Lamont.
Thank you, Kayla. My name is Scott Lamont, Vice President of Lamont Land. Lamont Land is a private residential real estate developer and has been operating since 1991. We currently have projects in 13 municipalities across Western Canada. We are excited to present one of our newest projects to everyone tonight. Ridgemont on the north end of Okotoks is a comprehensive, innovative master plan community. We believe this project balances great community amenities with a great mix of innovative housing types that will provide much needed housing for the town of Okotoks. We thank everyone for attending the information session tonight, and we look forward to receiving your feedback. Kayla and our team will now proceed with the presentation.
Thanks. All right, so today we will be providing you an overview of where the project sits today, with a summary of the location and timeline, the policy context of a neighborhood area structure plan, the vision for Ridgemont, and some preliminary information about the transportation and servicing. We will close the presentation with the next steps that you can expect and provide the opportunity for questions to be answered at the end through the chat function. So first, an overview of the project. The site is located on Northwest 342029 west of the 4th. So it's immediately south of 338th Avenue and east of 32nd Street in Northern Okotoks. The name of the new community will be Ridgemont, and the project underway is a neighborhood area structure plan, which we'll provide a bit more context on later in the presentation. You might recall hearing about the Trilogy Plains area structure plan over the last couple of years. So this Ridgemont NASP is a continuation of that process, providing more detailed design for just the western quarter section. So the Trilogy Plains ASP covered the 2 quarter sections, and the Ridgemont project now is just the residential side on the western quarter. The plan area lands are currently comprised of 6 parcels. one with the existing St. James Church, one for the Holy Trinity Academy School. There are 3 parcels owned by private landowners, and the largest piece is owned by Lamont Land. So all the lands in the quarter section have been included within the NASP plan area, but their future land use amendments, subdivision development will be at the discretion of the individual landowners. So this slide provides a brief overview of the project history and what you can expect moving forward. So the first item of note is that the Trilogy Plains ASP was approved by Okotoks Council in June and provides the framework for this NASP. Since that time, the project team has been working in collaboration with the town of Okotoks administration to commence the NASP process. And that line actually reminded me that I forgot to include in our introduction, Colton Nickel is our file planner with the town, who is also joining us online today. So apologies, Colton, for getting you earlier. So over the last couple of months, we've been working in collaboration with the town to develop the preliminary land use concept that you'll be seeing later today. So that process involved the development of a project charter, as well as 2 visioning sessions with the town of Okotoks in order to refine that. The intent of this first information session is to share with you the purpose and intent of the NASP, introduce the Ridgemont community, and the preliminary land use concept that goes with it. After this session, we'll be finalizing the land use concept and using it to develop the detailed neighborhood area structure plan document and the associated technical studies. The intent is that the NASP and technical studies will be submitted to the town of Okotoks this fall, where they would undergo a detailed review relative to all town policies and technical requirements. And following that, we'll be coming back to all of you with a second public information session where more details about the project will be shared. And this will likely take place in April 2024, but the date of that will be determined in the spring. After that engagement session, the plan will be finalized with the intent of moving forward to council and approvals next summer. So this timeline represents our goals for the project, but all future dates might be a bit subject to change as we go along. This timeline is also posted on the project website if you want to take a look, and we'll be updating it over time if there is any variation in what we've shown here. So I've alluded a bit to the NASP being the next stage of planning, but I'll now talk a little bit more about the policy context. So within the province of Alberta, the Municipal Government Act provides a high-level framework for the planning process and the authorities provided to local governments. Within this framework, there's some flexibility for municipalities and how they implement it, but in general, planning occurs in the order of the hierarchy shown on the right. And as you move down the hierarchy, additional detail is added at each stage, and that additional detail should be consistent with the level above. So starting with the town of Okotoks Municipal Development Plan, the purpose of the MDP is to provide a long-term framework for growth across the entire town. The primary function of an MDP is to guide the long-range planning and physical growth of the town while addressing the social, economic, cultural, historical, and environmental health of the community. It includes maps and policies that provide a framework to guide town decisions on land use and development across the entire town. So the MDP includes a framework for what needs to be included in the NASP itself, and also as a future land use map showing how the lands in the town should generally be developed. In this case, the plan area is identified as open space and public service, where the school and the church are located, has a future commercial mixed use area identified in the northwest corner, and the remainder is identified as future residential. So the NASP will be in alignment with this. One level down in the planning hierarchy is the area structure plan. So as mentioned, this is a continuation of the Trilogy Plains area structure plan process. So the town defines an ASP as a statutory document that must be passed by council in the form of a bylaw. The ASP proposes a sequence of development for an area, the future land uses, the density of population, and the general location of transportation and public utilities. Generally, area structure plans cover an area of 2 to 6 quarter sections and provide a high-level plan of the general land uses, collector road network, and the major features within the plan area. The Trilogy Plains ASP was approved by Okotoks Council on June 26th, 2023 as bylaw 08-23. So the ASP includes 2 quarter sections, a residential community on the western quarter and employment lands on the eastern quarter. And those land uses are in alignment with the MDP land uses shown on the previous slide, but with a bit more detail on specific land uses and then also showing the collector road network. So as mentioned before, the Ridgemont NASP will only include the western quarter section with the residential community. So for the neighborhood area structure plan, again, this level of plan is covering a smaller area and providing more detail. The town's definition of an NASP says that it is a required land use concept that must be prepared prior to the development of any large undeveloped parcel. It's a statutory plan requiring council approval. So what is an area structure plan and what does it cover? Generally, NASPs include a community vision and guiding principles, the policy and regulatory framework, plan area conditions, opportunities, constraints, residential land uses, density and projected population, non-residential land uses, employment density and projected jobs, the open space network and conceptual programming, pedestrian and vehicular circulation, water, sanitary, stormwater, and utility servicing systems, and the phasing of development within the plan area. So everything in this plan will be consistent with what was explained in the ASP, but going into a bit more detail and technical studies associated with it. So some of the details on this list we will address today, and some of them will be completed later in the process when we complete the NASP and the technical studies themselves. So following approval of the NASP, we'll also be applying for land use amendments to change the zoning of the Lamont-owned lands within the plan area. So the current land use is agricultural land holdings, and we'll be amending to a variety of residential, commercial, and parks land uses. The land use amendments will likely occur in phases across the plan area. So getting into the vision for Ridgemont. So Ridgemont will be a unique neighborhood that consists of a mix of housing options and a range of employment opportunities, appropriately integrated to promote a diverse and vibrant community. Some of the goals of our plan include creating a diverse and healthy neighborhood, a connected transportation network for both cars and active modes, creating economic activities, opportunities, and integrating the plan with existing uses and adjacent communities. On this slide, for the first time, you can see an overview of the land use concept. So as illustrated previously on the MDP and the ASP concepts shown earlier, you can see that we've identified the St. James Church and Holy Trinity Academy to remain, a commercial site in the northwest corner, a stormwater management pond in the southeast corner, and the remainder as a residential community with integrated park spaces throughout. So all of these land uses are generally in alignment with those shown in the MDP and the ASP. So we'll now walk through each component of the plan area individually. So I'll start off with the neighborhood hub. So there's an approximately 10-acre commercial area located in the northwest corner of the community. This commercial area will form the main part of the neighborhood hub. A neighborhood hub is defined as an area of concentrated activity and services. It's intended to include a mix of uses and allow most residents access to their daily needs within walking distance. So in this case, the neighborhood hub as a whole includes a commercial area, which will include a mix of retail and commercial amenities, and has been located at the highly visible and accessible corner between 338th Avenue and 32nd Street. And the commercial area has been complemented with adjacent high and medium density residential and connections to the regional pathway network and parks and open space network. So you can see the pathway connection to parks here and sort of higher density residential in proximity to that commercial. All of these uses, as they interact together, form the neighborhood hub as a whole. So additional design guidelines for this commercial area will be explored more later in the process as we start developing the NASP this fall. So more information about this will be shared at the next event. When it comes to residential development within Ridgemont, the plan includes a mix of housing types throughout the community. The lightest yellow and medium yellow will be a mix of front drive and lane access, single detached and semi-detached housing. Fronting onto the collector network in the orange color will be slightly higher density housing, mostly in the form of semi-detached and row housing. The light brown color on that diamond-shaped site in the southwest will likely be a cluster of row housing just due to the unusual shape of the site. And then the darker brown sites across the plan area will be comprehensively planned row housing and multifamily style developments. So you might have noticed there's a multifamily site that's also been identified on the east side of the St. James Church. So that land is currently undeveloped just to the east of their parking lot and might be developed in the future as a multifamily site, but that would be at the discretion of the church if or when they decide to move forward with that. So another unique feature of this community is the inclusion of park fronting homes in 2 locations. So one in the northern part of the plan area here, and another in the central part of the plan area here. So these homes have their front yards leading onto public park spaces and are accessed through back lanes. So these are quite unique housing types that you don't see in every community. Overall, the plan area will likely support approximately 1,400 to 1,700 housing units, or approximately 4,000 to 5,000 people when we're assuming about 2.9 people per household. So I will now hand it over to Macy from Bassett Associates to talk more about the Parks and Open Space Network.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kayla. Ridgemont has been designed with a unique connected park network through the center of the neighborhood, which will consist of 4 distinct park spaces that will all be tied together through design elements and the central regional pathway connecting these parcels. And due to the location of the parks, all parks and open spaces will be within walking distance of Ridgemont residents, providing easy access to wonderful amenities with the regional pathway. These proposed amenities transition from more active uses found in the north to more passive uses found in the south. Proposed amenities within these 4 park spaces, starting with more active uses that could potentially be found in the north, include community playground and basketball courts. 2 half-court basketball courts and a traditional playground will provide a place for recreation, exercise, and skill development for residents of all ages. A toboggan hill will utilize topography to provide both an aesthetically pleasing and recreational amenity. A dog social area will serve as a place for both dogs and their owners to get to know their neighbors. Community gardens will provide access to fresh foods, a fun physical activity through gardening maintenance, and positively impact the urban microclimate. A nature-based playground will be anchored in strong ties to nature through the theming and material used. Nature playgrounds help kids become more engaged and interested in the world around them, while still fostering physical activity. And the Storm Park will be further explained in our information session later on. I'll now hand it to Bruce Nelligan with WATT, who will provide you some additional details on the transportation network.
Thank you, Macy. So the road network has been designed in alignment with the Trilogy Plains ASP and has been laid out to create an efficient and walkable network with many connections and facilitate a mix of lanes and laneless housing forms. Future connections have been identified to the lands to the east and west, which will be connected when those lands develop. Specific road sections and intersection treatments based on anticipated traffic volumes will be identified in the transportation impact assessment, which will be completed next month. Next slide, please. An on and off street pathway network has been established within Ridgemont to provide ample opportunities for active transportation. A regional pathway will be provided along most of the collector road network and through some park spaces. And the remainder of the road network will include sidewalks on both sides. A walking trail around the Storm Park provides a naturalized experience, which is ideal for walking your dog or going for a peaceful walk. And now I'll pass off the presentation to my colleague, Sean, to go over the site servicing and technical studies. Sean?
Thank you, Bruce. My name is Sean Popwell, and I will be providing an introduction to the technical studies that will be completed as part of the neighborhood area structure plan process with the town of Okotoks. as well as presenting the servicing plan for Ridgemont. The reason why we prepare technical studies is to ensure that the neighborhood area structure plan is supported by detailed technical analysis to ensure the provision of all services to the plan area. The studies that will be prepared to support the Ridgemont NSAP include transportation impact assessment. The purpose of the TIA is to estimate traffic that is expected to be generated by the community and identify the impacts on the transportation network. The TIA also provides a list of transportation infrastructure that will be needed to support full build out of the community. We'll do a sanitary servicing study, and this will be prepared to demonstrate to the town that the existing and proposed sanitary systems can accommodate the additional sanitary sewer flows generated by the proposed development at full build out, or to identify estimated timing and locations where upgrades may be required within the existing system. We're going to do a water servicing study, which is prepared to establish the pressure zone that the development lands will operate in, confirm the expected demand based on expected population, and document that serviceable pressures can be achieved based on the final grade design of the proposed land. We'll do a stage master drainage plan, and the objective of this plan is to provide design requirements for controlling the flow and stormwater runoff that results from storm events up to and including 1 in 100 year events. The Ridgemont community will be fully serviced with municipal utilities such as potable water, sanitary, and storm services. In addition, each home in commercial development will also be serviced with private utilities such as electrical, natural gas, and telecommunications. The servicing figure that we have included in the presentation illustrates the fully serviced development and the anticipated layout for the water distribution system and sanitary and storm collection systems. Ridgemont will be developed in multiple phases. The connections to the existing municipal services will be completed with the first phase of development and then extended throughout the plan area as additional phases are developed. I will now pass the presentation on to our stormwater specialist, Anton, to continue the discussion on how Ridgemont will have innovative water reuse.
Thank you, Sean. Hi, everyone. We're excited to share that Ridgemont will have an innovative design for stormwater management that blends the functionality of a standard storm pond with the naturalized aesthetic and additional benefits of wetlands and nature-based biofiltration systems. We have successfully implemented similar designs in the region and are excited to bring this innovative concept to the community. It is a unique design with several benefits, including improved water quality, easier maintenance, and recirculation that will add the element of moving water to the naturalized appearance of the storm park area. With respect to the function, the system is designed with multiple steps that each have a purpose. First, the Nautilus pond collects the runoff and removes the sediments that are in it, allowing cleaner water to flow into the main pond body. From there, the water is circulated to the nature-based biofiltration elements, including a treatment wetland and a vertical flow biofilter. This multi-stage process improves the quality of water and makes it suitable for non-potable reuse, such as for irrigation, which allows the opportunity to reduce the use of potable water. And lastly, the entire system is designed to integrate seamlessly into the open space fabric of the community. Back to you, Kayla.
All right, so now that you've heard a bit more about the Ridgemont neighborhood, we wanted to go through some of the next steps and how you can provide your feedback on the land use concept so far and how to keep informed over the life of the project. So with respect to the event today, the presentation slides and a recording of this session will be posted on the project website. So we'd appreciate you providing your feedback on the session today and the plan itself by filling out our online survey. So the QR code on the right there will bring you to the survey, and a link will also be posted on the project website to the survey. As mentioned, information will be posted on the project website, so we'll continue to update this information as milestones are achieved throughout the project. So please check there for ongoing updates over the next several months until this plan is approved. If the information you're looking for is not there, or if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us anytime. Our communications and engagement specialist, Megan, who you met earlier, will be sure to respond to any questions that you might have, and her email is listed at the bottom of the slide there. So as mentioned, this is the first information session to introduce the Ridgemont project at a high level and share some preliminary information. Additional details about the plan area will be shared at a second event in the spring. But we'd like to open it up to questions at this time if you do have any. So feel free to use the chat function, the little sort of speech bubble somewhere on your screen, and you can post comments or questions in there, and those come to the project team. So we'd like to see if any questions have come in, and I'll hand it over to Megan, and she'll be moderating the Q&A portion.
Thanks, Kayla. And thanks to the whole project team for that presentation. So if you have any questions, like Kayla said, feel free to put them into the chat here. We only have one so far. And in the interest of time, I will just make sure to not repeat the same questions and paraphrase just for clarity. If you have a longer, more detailed question, feel free to email it to me, my email being right there. And just to be in the interest of not running too far over past 7:30, if we aren't able to get to certain questions, we will be following up with you in the next few weeks and months. And if there's like quite a few similar questions, we'll likely send out an FAQ document. So yeah, that's probably enough talking for me. So yeah, feel free to pop your questions in the chat here. I see there's more coming through now. Okay, question. The eastern quarter used to show yellow or the possibility of residential. However, now it appears to be flex/commercial. How likely is it to change again? And what more details can you give on what the flex/commercial area means/will include? And then another part of the question, do you have a land use concept image for the eastern quarter yet? I think I'll direct that to you, Kayla.
Perfect. Yeah, so I believe this question is in reference to the Trilogy Plains area structure plan. So I've just brought that image up here. So you can see that the eastern quarter section has been sort of whited out. It is identified as an employment flex area in the approved area structure plan. The plan that we're looking at today is actually just the western residential quarter section owned by Lamont Land. So we do not at this time have a more detailed concept for the eastern plan area. Detailed planning for the east quarter has not commenced yet and won't be part of this planning process for the NASP.
Thanks, Kayla. Okay, another question here. How will traffic be controlled at the access points into and out of the area, i.e. traffic lights?
Happy to take that on, Megan. So
Thank you.
in terms of the access points into and out of the site, we have 5 proposed accesses from 32nd Street and 338th Avenue into Ridgemont. And the town has just recently undertaken and just about complete a functional study of 338th Avenue. So the traffic control that will be used at those 2 intersections on 338th has already been determined to be a traffic light. And typically those are only installed when they're warranted. So as the community builds out, you may see those intersections controlled with stop signs for the first while. And then when the traffic builds up on 338 and traffic from Ridgemont and other communities starts to build up, then whenever a traffic signal is warranted, it would be installed. One of the other key intersections on this map, 338th Avenue and 32nd Street, is being planned as a roundabout. So the town has identified that as a 2-lane roundabout in the future. And then the other intersections on 32nd Street are all being planned as signals, very similar to the other intersections that I talked about on 338th, and they would only be installed when they're warranted.
Thanks, Bruce. So another question here for the storm pond, so I'll direct this to Anton. The pumps at the pond, what what dB level will they omit, sorry.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So essentially, the pumps are small and they are designed for low flow, so you can't actually hear them when they're operational. So they'll be housed in manholes. And essentially, we have a few different designs potentially, which we'll get into at later stages in the project. But just wanted to make sure that you cannot hear the pumps operating. Thank you.
Thank you. So another question to do with water for Sean. Please detail how water will be provided and given our regional water issues.
Yeah, thanks for the question about water. We do realize that there are some issues with water in the region. Unfortunately, we're not able to probably give you the detailed answer that you're looking for tonight. We are working with the town of Okotoks, and we have had some visioning sessions with them. We've had some meetings with them to discuss the existing water system, the limitations. So this is information that we'll be working through a more detailed design process as we prepare our water servicing study. And so we'll try to make those details available to everybody as soon as we can.
Thanks, Sean. So I think I'll direct this question to Kayla. There appears to be 3 entrances. Which entrance will be completed first?
I'm muted. I believe that one refers to road access, so I might loop Bruce in on this response. But the precise phasing plan hasn't yet been determined. This central road here off 32nd is the one that goes between the church and the school. So this road already exists to date, but sort of dead ends between the church and the school at this time. And then Bruce, I might let you speak to.
Sure. Yeah, I think you're right, Kayla, that it really would depend on the phasing of the project. And I think Lamont is still sort of working out the details of which area of Ridgemont they're going to build first. And that would dictate sort of which intersections would get built at that time.
Thank you. So another question about water. Issues on the north side of having no water due to low aquifers. Sorry if I mispronounce anything. And other water issues. How will you address them? Sorry, I know that it's probably a similar answer to before, but I just want to make sure to address questions coming in.
Maybe I can hop in if that helps. This is Bill McDonald with Lamont Land. So all new developments, including Ridgemont, we will be subject to the town's water allocation policy, and will only proceed based on existing water license capacity. So that's an ongoing conversation that we're having with the town as we strategize, working towards the ultimate regional goal as well. But that's definitely factored into any sort of approvals associated with our community development.
And I'll just add a bit on the town's behalf, if that's okay. We are currently working on a regional water pipeline with Foothills County, and we have information on that on our website. So any interim development prior to that would be through kind of interim solutions and getting water licensing through the town. So we do have a process in place, and it is closely tracked as we work towards that regional solution. So phasing any land use, future subdivisions will be subject to making sure there is that water in place.
Thanks, Colton. So moving on to another question. If when approved, what is the estimate of when building / construction will begin?
I can do that one. Yeah. So Scott with Lamont Land. Yeah, I mean, we're hoping obviously that this process is pretty smooth and seamless. And we'd be looking to hopefully potentially be in the position to look at possibly site grading this time next year or spring the following year.
Thanks, Scott. Another question here, kind of more to do with density. What will be the highest and lowest density housing in terms of units / acre? The average density overall will be what?
So I can speak to that one. So I just brought back the residential map here. So the requirement for the overall plan area density within the Okotoks Municipal Development Plan is 12 units per acre. So the overall plan area as a whole will have to average out to at least 12 UPA. The plan area that we're showing here includes a mix of single family and single detached in sort of the lighter yellow, more like semi-detached row in the orange, and then multifamily sites in the brown. So this housing mix that we've shown here is meeting that 12 UPA across the whole plan area.
Perfect, thanks, Kayla. Another question here. Are there any plans to widen 32nd Street between Holy Trinity Academy and Meadow Ridge School traffic? That road currently gets very backed up in the morning and in the afternoon. The additional traffic accessing the new development will make the road even more heavily used. So probably a Bruce question.
Yes, I can answer that one. So, yeah. So the town is planning to widen 32nd Street to a 4-lane roadway. It's classified as an arterial road, which is one of the higher classified roads in the town. So when traffic is warranted, that road will be eventually widened to 4 lanes all the way up to 338th Avenue.
Awesome, thank you, Bruce. Another water question, and kind of storm pond as well, sorry. Will the collected water from the storm pond be directed back to residents for reuse, or will the availability for reuse only be for public areas?
So I can take that, Megan. So essentially, we'll get into the details on the reuse at the level of technical studies, so more will come. But ultimately, when we're looking at reuse opportunities, it's unlikely that it would be directed to residential areas because the opportunities really are within the open spaces adjacent to the pond itself.
Thank you. Another question here, how will the golf course be affected?
I can do that if you'd like. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so the golf course will be really not affected. There is an opportunity to realign the first hole that, while not required by our plan, the golf course has seen it as a potential opportunity. So we're looking at that with them. But other than that, the access to the golf course would stay relatively the same with some minor alignment changes and you know, kind of a different cross section of road, but really the golf course won't change.
Yeah, and just to add to that, sorry, just to add to that as well, there's opportunities with our storm park for some water reuse into the golf course to help supplement and offset some of their existing needs. So that's something that we're in conversations with as well.
And to add further onto that, sort of the connection between this open space and the golf course here, there'll be sort of clear delineation between the golf course lands and this park space on the southern part of the plan area, either with landscaping or fencing or barrier of some kind between the two. So it won't be sort of a continuous space. It will be clear sort of what's park and what's golf course.
Perfect, thanks Kayla and everyone else for answering that one. Another question here, will there be any traffic controls on the road at the high school? Oh, I think we kind of already answered this one. But yeah, near the high school, lots of traffic during kind of peak times. But
yeah, I think I can add just a bit more to what I said earlier, Megan, if that's okay. So I think so I believe I mentioned that there's going to be a future traffic signal at 32nd Street, so that'll help control a lot of the traffic coming in and out of the area around the church and the school. But the access points to the actual school, there's 2 or 3 of them now. So as part of this work that we're doing in terms of the technical studies for Ridgemont, we will be looking at sort of revisions to some of those access points to ensure that traffic will flow efficiently along that roadway.
perfect, thanks Bruce. Another question, how many commercial businesses will be in the northwest section?
So in the Northwest commercial area, we're still working on refining the more detailed concept. I can say it will be a mix of sort of small and medium scale retail opportunities. The NASP will provide sort of design guidance for how those structures will generally be oriented within that area, but the specific design for exactly which businesses and how big they are won't come until after the NASP process, and there's developers sort of wanting to develop that area. So I would say that the retail size will generally be small to medium, and whether it's more medium or more small, that might change the sort of number of businesses overall. And then in the NASP document that we'll be putting together and sharing more at the next event, we'll have a little bit more detailed concept of that area to give you a better idea of what it might look like.
So thanks, Kayla. Oh, sorry, were you gonna say anything else? I don't want to interrupt you. Okay.
Thanks.
So a question for Bruce for traffic. Calgary bound traffic will travel either east or west along 338 Avenue. Can that traffic be accommodated with existing infrastructure?
Yeah, that's a good point and good question. So I think I mentioned earlier that the town has undertaken a functional study for 338. And what a functional study does, it sort of identifies what the long-term traffic volumes would be on that roadway and what type of road would be needed to accommodate those volumes. So the results of that functional study indicate that in the long term, a 6-lane roadway, a full arterial roadway for 338th Avenue is being planned. So, but that typically doesn't get built all at once, and it would get staged as required. So you might see sort of that 2-lane roadway could function probably for a little while until we start seeing some of the development in the area, and then a likely next stage would be to twin it to 4 lanes, and then in the long term, we're talking 40 years, it is being planned as a 6-lane roadway. The other item that might be of interest that maybe some of the participants might not know about is there is an interchange being planned at Highway 2 as well. So that'll help sort of funnel some of the traffic coming in and out of Okotoks.
Awesome, thank you, Bruce. There's a question here. I heard a new term, quote, urban microclimate during the presentation. Please explain further.
For sure. So a microclimate is just looking at the particular climate for any small area. So there could be different heat effects for park spaces from even the microclimate. Park spaces change from season to season, depending on the foliage cover of the trees that are providing. So community gardens respond to urban microclimates by identifying these different constraints and providing solutions to these problems, whether it's drainage, pollution, introducing friendly pollinators. There's a couple ways that they help with these urban microclimates.
Awesome, thank you. So the dog area and community garden sounds like a nice idea. But is there a plan on how to keep the park clean and the gardens used as intended?
I can probably hopefully maybe jump in on that. So the plan and vision is to kind of nail down the concept and the overall use and the amenities for the community, and then kind of get into the details in terms of the local governance, whether it be through a resident association or some similar form of group. And then in dealing with the town's parks department on the operations side, making sure that all of these amenities, there's a practical approach to how we maintain and keep them clean as well. So those are all things that will be discussed further on in the process as we get kind of into the details of what these parks programs look like and the various details that Macy went through.
Thanks, Bill. So kind of a double question here. Will there be an overpass at Highway 2 and 338? And will the intersections be, like, how will these be funded? Will they be developer funded or publicly?
So I can take that one on. So yes, there will be an overpass at Highway 2 and 338. that interchange study is just about complete with Alberta Transportation. So that particular project will be funded primarily by Alberta Transportation. And the question about the intersections being paid for by the developers or taxpayers, typically it's a combination of both. So there's something called transportation levies that are that have to be paid by the developers of the area, and those funds are typically used for infrastructure upgrades, including intersections. So I would say that it's generally a combination of both.
Just to add to that, there is also a frontage fee for arterial roads in Okotoks. So landowners adjacent to these are 338 or 32nd pay a fee as well as levies, and then there's a portion that would be paid by the town based on benefit. And if more questions on that, the town's levy bylaw is online on the Town of Okotoks website, if anyone would like to review that further.
Thanks, Scott. So as of right now, there's no more questions coming in, so feel free to send in some more. We're only at like 6:45 right now, so we still have some time if there's anything else you want to ask the project team.
I think since as we're waiting for questions, I might just sort of remind everyone that I might just go back to the survey slide actually with the QR code. And then if you guys want to save these links and any questions sort of come to you later, there definitely will be opportunity to send them in through the survey function after the event. Or again, this will be recorded, the slides will be posted online. So if you do know of anyone who wasn't able to attend, they're welcome to watch that online and then send us the questions through the survey on their own time. That survey will be posted for the next 2 weeks. So just, yeah, take a look for that and fill the survey in before then if you're able to.
Yeah, thanks, Kayla. Yeah, I'm not seeing any more questions come in for right now. I might just pop the link in the chat just in case anyone wants to, if anyone's on their computer. And thanks to everyone so far who's participated and given their questions. Nothing yet. I'll let you know if we get any other questions.
I think we might give it maybe just 2 to 3 more minutes here. And then if no more questions come in, then just sort of in the interest of everyone's time here today joining us, we might call the session early. So if you do have any additional questions, we'll give it to 6:52.
Sounds good. I'm seeing people leave, so maybe people are ready to go. Oh no, one just came in. There's a question about density here. I understand people like low density, but with land being so precious and the urban sprawl issue, why isn't more density being encouraged?
So I can speak a little bit to the density of the plan area, and then Colton, I see you put your camera on, so maybe if you want to add to that. I would say, yeah, so the units per acre in the Okotoks Municipal Development Plan is 12 units per acre. That's actually a fair bit higher than you're seeing in a lot of suburban residential communities right now. So the units per acre required currently under the Calgary Metropolitan Region Growth Plan, and then also in the city of Calgary, is typically more like 8 units per acre. So in terms of the density being encouraged here, I would say Okotoks is kind of ahead of the trend in terms of encouraging higher density. Also, I'll just flag too that like even though these just like glancing at the plan might look like all single family, there is a mix of sort of towns and row, and then the addition of lanes as well throughout the plan area does allow sort of more opportunities for things like secondary suites throughout the plan area as well. So I'll let Colton jump in if you want to add anything.
Yeah, you pretty much covered it. Like just to kind of give an example, the communities of Darcy and Wedderburn, which are building out right now. As you can see, those are at 8 units per acre. So this is with this being at 12 units per acre, that's already 4 units per acre higher. And then, yeah, just like Kayla noted, most of the ones you're seeing now in Calgary building out, those are at 8, and Cochrane, Airdrie, kind of at that 8 mark. So Okotoks is actually leading on the density front. One other thing is we have a very flexible land use bylaw in terms of what can be. We have one residential zone, and anything from a single family home to a duplex or up to a fourplex can be built within that kind of initial traditional neighborhood zone. So there's definitely opportunities for things to shift if, depending on kind of where the market goes and where builders see things going as the community builds out without needing an onerous dense land use change or anything. So no, the town's, I just say that the town's pushing hard on the density front, and yeah, so far it seems to be in demand with the communities we're seeing. So this will further that.
And just to touch on that a little bit more, I guess, is yeah, I mean, the town of Okotoks has certainly been extremely innovative in our experience in terms of densities. And I think with the housing crisis that certainly is being seen across the country, this is a good step on providing a right mix of housing.
Thank you. Thanks for everyone answering. Is there a plan for architecture controls on the commercial area as far as light pollution?
I might have to defer to Colton on that one about your light bylaws.
Yeah. So our land use bylaw has requirements for kind of on-site lighting levels and off-site. So at the development permit stage, when that commercial application comes in, that builder will have to do a site lighting plan, and that will review that plan to make sure it matches our land use bylaw lighting requirements. And that looks up to 100 meters. Sorry. Well, I forget the exact amount, but it looks a certain portion off site as well, just to make sure there's no significant glare as well around the adjacent edges. So yeah, at the development permit stage, that'll all be reviewed. And then once the development's actually built out, usually we have there's an as-built lighting plan that's provided as well, so we can make sure that there's no negative impacts on adjacent residential.
Perfect. Thanks, Colton.
I can read that one aloud, Megan, if you like. So
Okay.
are xeriscaping and net zero homes being discussed in the following sessions? And I might direct that one to either Scott or Bill if you know what the landscaping or home design.
Yeah. So we will have architectural guidelines that do touch on some of the landscaping requirements. Generally, we would just follow existing building codes, though, on anything from a net zero perspective. We don't build the vertical structures ourselves, so eventually these will be sold to other builders, and they will be building the homes to whatever standard they feel fit. So yeah, and usually in an NASP, other than encouraging some of these initiatives, it wouldn't be necessarily prescribing it.
Thank you. Kayla, this one, just if you want to explain just the density for the plan. Someone's just wanting to ask if any condos are being planned for the area.
For sure. Yeah. So if you can still see my screen here. So the brown sites here in sort of the southwest, northeast corner, and then by the commercial site here, and then potentially on the church lands as well. So those are all identified to be sort of multifamily style housing. So that might be a mix of row house or multi-story housing. So could be, low rise, 4-ish story multifamily buildings within those sites.
Thanks, Kayla. So question, just speaking of the housing crisis, how quickly will this project be able to deliver actual homes to new residents? And I imagine, since stripping and grading, I believe we said, wouldn't begin with all approvals, it wouldn't be till fall 2024, spring 2025. So would
Yeah,
be-
so the goal would to be, have the first phase completed and building permits ready in probably fall of 2025. Again, timelines are tricky just because the process is a bit long, but that is our goal, is to deliver the housing as soon as possible.
Perfect, thanks, Scott. What are comprehensive row houses?
Yeah, I can add that. There's another question here just about low cost housing, which I think might refer to affordable housing. So I'll just say that the NASP sort of provides the provision for the types of housing that might be expected in the plan area. So it sort of creates the conditions for different prices of houses throughout the plan area. But the specific sort of design and pricing of those homes would be determined sort of at a later stage. With respect to the question about what is comprehensive row housing, so comprehensive just means that the site is planned as a whole. So it generally refers to larger site where a developer comes in and sort of build homes. So in this case, it might be sort of a cluster of townhomes in here, as opposed to being sort of broken up into individual parcels where each house is on its own lot. This would be planned sort of as one development with a cluster of homes. And the reason for it being identified as a comprehensive site is it's, as you can kind of see, it's just a bit of an awkward shape. So allowing for more comprehensive development here just allows for a better layout of the townhomes in that area.
Yeah, and just to add to that, typically those sites would be more condominiumized versus the row homes, which are more fee simple. And I just wanted to add, I think there was a question with respect to affordable housing. So I guess there are no specific plans at this level for affordable housing, but we do provide a variety of home styles and types, particularly on the multi-sites, which will allow for opportunities to incorporate some of that as we kind of move through the project and adapt to some of those needs and working with the town. If that answers your question.
Thanks, Bill. How will any existing wetlands for wildfire be protected for their use only?
So I can start off with this one. So within the existing plan area, there's no like existing wetlands on the subject parcel. Generally, land drains to the southeast corner of the site here, which is where we've located the storm park. And this storm park will be designed in a way where the majority of it is sort of looking and operating like a naturalized wetland. So this will actually probably be adding more high quality aquatic vegetation than exists on the site today. And Anton, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, you pretty much covered it, Caleb, but the only thing I would just say is that we have been focusing our efforts on creating habitat, basically, and ensuring that through one of the benefits of storm parks is actually enhancing biodiversity. So for wetland species, some upland species as well, certainly efforts, again, it is conceptual at this point, but there's lots of opportunities to create some of those environments that would be beneficial and have that functionality of natural wetlands on the landscape and within the community.
Thank you. Are there areas for sports such as a ball diamond, pickleball, or tennis court a part of the plan?
At this time, I believe it was only basketball courts being discussed in the northern region.
Yeah, and mostly due to just noise concerns, there won't be pickleball courts included within Ridgemont.
Thank you. Someone just had a follow-up question just because they couldn't had to step away for a second. They just wanted to confirm. I heard road access would be addressed in approximately 4 years. What is being addressed with water usage as the town is struggling with water shortage? as electrical demands increase with the latest development, how will the town address this? Sorry, I'm reading them verbatim, so I sometimes just takes a second.
Yeah, I think I'll answer this one. So I'll just kind of reiterate, you probably were on the call when I was just speaking to the town's currently working on a regional water solution with Foothills County, where we'll have a regional pipeline and that will address our water concerns up to, I forget the population, but it's quite high, 70,000 plus. So we're looking at that over the next coming years. In the interim, we do have some interim water solutions in place and that we currently work on. So with every phase of development, we have what's called the water allocation policy. So we look at our queue and make sure we allocate appropriate amount of water through the policy with each phase of development. So it's definitely very closely tracked, like even right down to the development permit level. So for some developments, we recheck and make sure that it's kind of within what we allocated at the subdivision level. So the town's definitely monitoring that. In terms of the electrical demand, the application is circulated to all utility service providers and they have an opportunity to provide comment and have advance notice of kind of what's coming down the pipe to prepare for that. So that's definitely not a concern on the town from the town's viewpoint in terms of the electrical. That'll be worked through.
Thanks, Colton. No other questions at the moment. I'll give people a few minutes just in case there's anything else they want to add. We have just under half an hour left in the session. But yeah, thanks again for all your questions. Sorry, just another question here. How does the Mont integrate with the town's climate action plan? Sorry, I'm just leaving it open to whoever wants to answer. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I can take a stab at that. You know, there is, and I can't remember the department's name, but basically the climate change sustainability department within the town of Okotoks has been part of the plan and providing comments. So this has basically been vetted by the town to make sure that it's in compliance with all policies. And yeah, and so far it seems to.
Thank you. Yeah, no other questions yet. I'm just going to put the survey in the chat again, just in case anyone missed it. I have about 25 minutes left if you have any final questions. So just another water question. I'm not sure if we have, I feel like we've kind of expanded, but we have another question that says, please elaborate more on how the town is going to address the water demand prior to the water pipeline is in place. Sorry, I kind of said that.
Yeah, I can try to elaborate a bit more
Thanks,
on that.
Colton.
So basically there's a water license market and the town's always looking for water licenses and then they're purchased by developers and then they're kind of transferred over through the subdivision and land use at the subdivision and land use designation stage. So we always just make sure and are going out and looking at that and yeah, working through kind of the water license process and water allocation and checking our queue. If maybe there's developments within town that had been allocated water that may not be proceeding eminently, we look at maybe working with them to reallocate that in the interim for more eminent developments, that type of thing. So it's kind of a constant discussion and just looking at all of our different options that we have available. But it's definitely, our engineering team is really on top of that and making sure that all developments have adequate water through the policy. And just kind of speaking to the timelines for this development, it is a bit of a process as well. So with the water pipeline and the timing for that, potentially initial phases move ahead in advance of that through the water allocation policy, but with the bulk of the development coming online after the pipeline, it should address all those kind of issues.
Thanks again, Colton. No other new questions at the moment. But yeah, just a reminder, I put the feedback form in the chat. So if you want to fill that out, it's open for the next 2 weeks. So it's a really great way to share your feedback on the concept plan. There's a question here. What is happening with the airport?
I'll start that response off with the airport is outside the plan area. No specific impact as a result of this plan, but Colton, I see you might have more to add there.
I don't have a lot more to add. There's no real updates on the airport at this time. It continues to operate as an airport. We have no applications in for anything other than that at this point. So,
and I'll just flip back to the Trilogy Plains area structure plan figure if I can find it. Here we go. So there were some impacts sort of on the eastern quarter section with respect to the NEF contours from the airport, but that only impacts the eastern quarter section of the area structure plan area, and none of those extend into the western quarter section that's that Ridgemont is addressing. So no airport impacts on the western parcel.
Thanks, Kayla. And just a reminder, someone was just asking if we can email the survey link to people who registered for the call, and we will be following up and sending the presentation slides, recording, and survey link to everyone who registered or who signed up for email updates. And no other new questions right now. And there's about 20 minutes left if you want to get in any more questions.
I think, yeah, just waiting on questions to come in. I think, again, I might just put a little 2 to 3 minute time limit on it to see if we get any sort of wave of questions coming in again. So this time I'll say sort of 7:12. If there is anything additional, please submit by 7:12. And if not, we might wrap up early, but we're definitely willing to stay on until 7:30 if those questions do come in.
Thanks, Kayla. And thanks again to everyone for participating and sending in your questions.
I'll just note as well too with the survey, if you are submitting them after the event, if you have any questions sort of about the presentation today, or even if you have any questions that might not have been addressed in the presentation today, it can help us frame up what we're sharing at that next event in the spring. So if there are any sort of specific issues that you're wanting to hear about, if you let us know now, then we can make sure that that we're bringing the information you need the next time we come out.
Yeah, and I just add, I think there was some concern on in our Facebook comments about just some desire for an in-person open house. So just, yeah, with that next one, it'll likely be in person, just with this being a pre-app and virtual, and it appeals to a lot of kind of people with busy lives. The town is supportive of virtual at kind of a pre-app stage, but the next one will likely be in person.
Yeah, if there's no other questions, we just want to thank everyone for attending the session. And yeah, as Kayla said, and we've probably repeated a few times here, feel free to reach out to me. Kayla, if you want to go to the slide with my email, feel free to email me or go onto the project website to reach out with any further questions. Visit the project website for more information. And like I said, I will be following up with an email with a recording of the presentation slides, and the survey for you to provide more feedback. So yeah, thanks everyone, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thanks very much, everyone.